And again, as always, as we're always reminded by our teachers, and I'll remind again myself and all of us, just as we set out on any endeavor, especially Dharma study, contemplation, or practice, really connecting with our motivation is so very essential and critical. And so again, just we'll take a few moments as we begin this afternoon session to again reflect with these three motivations, which are the essence of all the 9 yanas, teachings and practices, which are connecting with our joy, our appreciation, recognizing and rejoicing in how precious our situation is, free of so many circumstances that would obstruct our investigation of our true nature, and bringing out our goodness qualities. We're endowed with so many beautiful outer and inner conditions and free of so many situations. So really connecting with that joy and appreciation within that context. And then of course, then our bodhichitta, that this moment, these moments, this hour, this life can truly go only to nourish and benefit countless beings. So really expanding our bodhicitta and acknowledging karma. And then again, our purity motivation of recognizing the inherent purity of our innate experience. Reflecting on the 5 perfections. So we'll spend a few minutes reflecting on the teachings, and I know a couple people had written in with questions, and both questions centered around the Guru Yoga, different aspects of a Guru Yoga, or the living teacher. And as we all know, especially within the Vajrayana, the living teacher connecting with the Guru, the Lama, that which is the perfection of wisdom, one who holds the knowledge of the teachings, and not only the knowledge, but the realization and wisdom of the teachings have been matured in their own mind and speech. That is so precious, and that's so critical, and it's so emphasized that we make a connection with that. For why? To bring out our own qualities, our own Buddha nature. So just thought I would get to those questions, since I think we didn't get around to that last week, and the week the person wrote, we didn't see the questions till after the session, so our apologies for the delay. And so one person was just asking about, they say, is it necessary to be personally connected to a Buddhist teacher? Or can a student follow the written teachings offered by a qualified Buddhist teacher? So I think, like I was just saying, definitely connecting with a living Buddhist teacher who's alive at this time and available to us it's not only such a special opportunity, it's really stressed in the practice lineage how really important it is to make contact with a teacher. And of course, the important word there was qualified Buddhist teaching. So essentially, that boils down to someone who has some degree of knowledge of the Buddhist teachings and is actually putting them into practice. And, we have some confidence in through observing how they live their lives and hearing their teachings, not only the formal teachings, but also just observing how they go about things and, the example they set, such as our beautiful teacher, Khenpo Tsewang Dongyal Rinpoche. It's really precious. And, of course, we're so blessed. There's so many commentaries by qualified teachers that are out there, and definitely those are wonderful to read, to contemplate, to really bring into our practice. But really, I would really encourage everyone, we're so blessed right now to have these great ones amongst us who are offering the teachings, are offering empowerment, are offering transmission, are offering pith instructions, as well as the whole body of the teachings. Those are really essential and critical that we make use of our opportunity. So, of course, the situation, especially the last couple of years with the pandemic, have made it harder to connect, to actually go physically and receive teachings or meet within a group situation or individually with a teacher, but things are starting to open up again. So really, if you can, take the opportunity to go to, a retreat in person, or, to make an arrangement to meet with a teacher and ask, because again, this is someone alive at this time who maybe, like any friendship, we can get to know each other, and we have that individual connection, which is really special. And the teacher can really, this aspect of our teachings is our confidence. And so of course that's something we develop over time. But we should definitely make use of it. Sorry, I'm just finding where I put my other questions here. Uh-oh. Here. Where did they go? I just had them. Well, I think I can remember what they are. I can find them here. I thought I'd also say on that last point, Khenpo Tsewang Rinpoche, who of course is such an amazing example, both in his knowledge of the teachings and his realization of the teachings and his ability to convey them to us, and just the beautiful example he sets in every aspect of his life is so precious. And among those teachings, I know, especially over the pandemic, he gave many kind of extended teachings on the qualities, or the qualifications of an authentic, qualified teacher, as well as student. So I know those are in our PBC YouTube. So I'm sure you can find them there. Everything's labeled there. So I'm going to find this other question. So these questions are more around the actual Guru Yoga itself, which of course here we're practicing the Guru Yoga as instructed in the Dudjom Tersar Ngondro, and you may read different instructions for different Ngondros that might have slightly different visualizations, and even sometimes, even within the same practice, we might hear slightly different things. So that's important to remember. But if it's coming from such great ones as this one is Dudjom Rinpoche, Khenchen Palden, Sherab Rinpoche, Khenpo Tsewang Dongyal Rinpoche, we can have confidence that this is tried and true, Buddha highway, really reliable instructions. So a person was asking about, when we do the Guru Yoga, of course, we visualize ourselves as Vajra Yogini, and before of us is Guru Padma as the embodiment of our teacher of this life, as well as who embodies all the Buddhas of the 3 times, all the Bodhisattvas, all the Arhats, all the great, noble, enlightened beings. And then we make this supplication and we mingle our mind and heart with the blessings of the Guru, and reciting the Vadra Guru mantra for as much time as we have possible. And as we're doing that, receiving the blessings from Guru Rinpoche's crown to our crown, from his throat to our throat, from his heart to our heart, to all of our 3 centers, and then pervading our whole body. And then in the end, there's different instructions. And this is particularly where this question is about. So at the end of the practice, once we've been reciting the mantra and doing the visualization, we have received the final blessings, and then there's the dissolution of the practice. So here the person's asking, saying that it's really hard for them to dissolve Guru Rinpoche into a condensed light at the end, and it doesn't happen. That it just isn't happening for them, I guess, and stays open, diffuse, then comes into her from the front and not the crown. So if that's how it's happening, that's something to acknowledge. And if you're feeling like Khenpo Tsewang Rinpoche, Khenchen Palden Rinpoche have said so many times, whenever people have questions about visualization, especially around how precise we can follow the visualization, always the first really important thing is that we feel the presence. We feel the preciousness of this direct connection. We feel the presence of Guru Rinpoche. And then, of course, we have the skillful means of the visualization. So, number one, feeling the presence. And I think if we're truly connected with our joy, our appreciation, our bodhichitta, our devotion and openness, then that's number one important. So if that element is there, that's good. And then, however, I'd also just encourage too, these are all skillful means practices. These are all specific instructions that Guru Padmasambhava, the living Buddha of this time, gave us. And so there's very skillful, powerful reasons for working with our habitual patterns that I'd say if we can, staying with the feeling of the presence and with our bodhicitta and devotion, can gently, not ignore our ability to develop our concentration and our visualization qualities, then we should do that. If we can just try to visualize a little bit as instructed, then that's also good. So I think it's a little bit both ways, not being too tight or too loose, or, but staying with the practice and really working on developing, again, our concentration, as well as our non-distraction, along with our devotion and big bodhicitta, and just being open for that. And then with this particular dissolution at the end, I think what they describe in Illuminating the Path, and then Dudjom Rinpoche does in other texts too, there's different ways we can dissolve this, and one is where Guru Rinpoche dissolves into light and then enters into our heart, and that's usually through the crown, coming down again through our central channel into our heart channel, into our heart, which again is said the heart chakra is where our Buddha nature resides. The other is that we as Yeshe Sojal just go forward and dissolve into Guru Rinpoche's heart. So who's going forward, who's coming? Again, I think it's very open in reality which way we're going. But so do do what's comfortable, but my main point is try to do the visualization as it's instructed, I think is really good for all of us, but not being too tight. And we also, part of this visualization is also, again, right, is so much remembering the purity. We're in the Pure Land as Vajra Yogini. So there's no reason to doubt. We're really, with our practice fundamentally, we're trying to put aside all of our doubt and hesitation when we're practicing. All of our mundane conceptions and habitual patterns, we're releasing and connecting with what's fresh and true to the best of our abilities. And so part of that is visualizing ourselves as Vajra Yogini in the Pure Land with Guru Rinpoche right here with us, which is the fact all the time. I mean, that's the point of the teachings, that's not some story. Our story, our make-believe, is our obstruction to that we haven't recognized that what that truly means and how that already is, right? So even on that degree too, as far as visualization, we don't have to think that even if we don't see ourselves literally according to the instructions, or we might be in a room with the furnishings of this particular world and this particular time, we don't need to recoil from that. We can know that is inseparable from the Pure Land. And I think that's a really important point that the teachers make with our visualization. We're not trying to have a big disconnect. We're trying to just have a fuller connect with how things are. And then kind of along those lines, another question here is, in this time and culture, the person's not comfortable visualizing themselves as a naked Vajra Yogini. So they've been clothing themselves in the visualization, and is wondering if that's acceptable from a dharmic viewpoint. So I think the answer is yes, it's okay, but I think it's worth considering kind of again the profound meaning of the practice. I mean, here again, when we're visualizing ourselves as Vajra Yogini, part of the instructions of that is because Vajra Yogini is the queen of space, the mother of all the Buddhas, is our own inherent, empty, open, pure nature. And Yeshe Sogyal is a living Buddha and perfect example of not only a living Buddha, but perfect student as well. And so, of course, the instructions are, we are Yeshe Sogyal with a ruby red complexion, kind of in a female form, around, kind of really at the beginnings of adulthood, so just fully formed, fresh body with black plaited hair. Some is up in the top knot, the others are coming down. And then we're, wearing all kinds of garlands of pearls and jewels and emeralds and tinkling bells and flower garlands, and holding, the copper curved knife with a Vadra handle in our right hand up, and then the bowl, the skull cup full of ambrosia in our right hand, and then sometimes with the damaru, and then with the katvanga. And so we are clothed in a way. Of course, it's not customary, but I think a point here too is remembering there's, as far as cultures go, on the common everyday level, there's all kinds of customs of what's appropriate or inappropriate in human culture, you know. And this is in no way to kind of denigrate whatever any individual's kind of what's acceptable for them. That's not the point here. The point is remembering, as far as human culture goes, there's all kinds of different customs of what's acceptable or unacceptable. From acceptable being completely covered, or, you know, just the top covered, or just the bottoms covered. There's all kinds of permutations. But here we're not so much, we're within our own practice, out kind of standing in our formal practice on the inner level, connecting with our inner innate qualities. So here, naked means uncontrived, uncovered, fully revealed, you know, and that's beautiful, that's nothing but immense wisdom, compassion, big, full, pervading bodhicitta, completely realized and fulfilled. That's what we're talking about here when we're connecting with kind of being naked. It's just that uncontrived nature, and that our body itself, right, no matter what, even if we are wearing clothes, we're always naked under our clothes. We come into the world naked. So to answer the question quickly, the answer is yes, do what you're comfortable with. You know, we don't want to be blocking our practice by feeling uncomfortable, and as we become more familiar, keeping open. But again, the instructions are here for a reason, and reading about the deeper meaning can really be helpful in connecting with why we're doing what we're doing. So like definitely Rinpoche's go over in Illuminating the Path in the chapter on Guru Yoga, what this symbolizes, you know, so that why with our bodhicitta, with our closeness feeling, with our devotion, we can connect with why the symbols are there. They're there to reveal and connect us within our direct perception to our own Buddha nature and bring out our bodhicitta. So I hope that was somewhat clear. But yeah, so around that is do what you're comfortable with, but then to truly remember that. And then what, even our body itself, in this pure view, is all the elements that make up the body are the 5 wisdom dakinis, the 5 wisdom mothers. All the aggregates, all the components that make up our experience are the 5 wisdom fathers, you know, the 5 aggregates, the 5 elements. Just that pure view. There's nothing outside of the true nature. We're just trying to realize for ourselves that true nature by these skillful means we've been given. But again, according to our capacities, according to, you know, each one of us needs to kind of work with what we're truly comfortable with. But definitely remembering we're trying to move beyond our limited perceptions and things. And then, of course, on the common level of everyday human affairs, being sensitive to what's appropriate or inappropriate for ourselves and for others is very, very much part of our practice as well. So that's good. And then I'm trying not to talk too much today so we have more time for practice. The other question here was around, you know, as we know, with the Guru Yoga we're doing here, we're mostly concentrating on the 3 main chakras. Our crown chakra, which is white, and we can more connected with the Om. And then the throat chakra is ruby red, Ah. and the heart chakra, the sapphire blue, Hong. So, of course, in the teachings, there's many chakras. Sometimes we're not focusing just on these 3. Sometimes we're also doing 5. Sometimes there's more chakras, and then essentially our whole body is made up of chakras. What are what? The junctures of where our winds are flowing. But again, here, there's a reason Guru Rinpoche gave us this skillful means that we're just focusing on these 3. Here the person's asking if there was a syllable for the yellow golden light in the navel. And so I'll just say for now, definitely there's so many instructions, but that's not necessarily part of these instructions. So definitely you can find out more about that. But regarding the Ngondro practice here, just following these instructions is perfect and wonderful, as well as so are all the others, but we won't do that. So again, all the Buddhas of the 3 times, all the Arhats, all the Bodhisattvas, all the Shravakas, all the Pratyeka Buddhas, all the ordinary beings kind of just coming on the path, any good qualities they have, of course, is because of relying on their teacher. They all had teachers. Even in the common level, we've had teachers. Our first teachers are our parents. So just connecting with the teacher is so vital, so beautiful, so important. Why? Again, they show us, that's just like we say in our lineage prayers, in the palace of the Ogman Dharmadhatu, in the vast, limitless space, basic space of all phenomena, in that great palace, the embodiment of all the Buddhas of the 3 times is our root teacher, the one who shows clearly the Dharmakaya of our own mind, which isn't anywhere else, that we aren't somehow separate from our mind. Here, direct shows us the Dharmakaya, the great, uncontrived, vast openness of our mind, inseparable from all appearances and awareness. That's the precious teacher that we should always, in the instructions. Of course, that's why Guru Yoga is so essential, embodies all the practices. It's so vital, so important. Keeping our teacher, just like it says, on the crown of our head, with appreciation, joy. Bodhichitta is great. And again, not just when they're giving us teachings, not just when they're giving us some nice gift, not just when we're in trouble, but like really always keeping the teacher in our mind and heart, because why? Not as some celebrity, event or fixation, but because they're truly precious in showing us our own basic goodness and peace, and helping us in our unique relationship to remove our obscurations and our habitual patterns through which we cause trouble for ourselves and others, and bringing out our beautiful nature. So again, that's all I'll say for today, and now we'll get to doing the practice. So I hope that's somewhat helpful, and I was somewhat clear and not too meandering and wandering, and I'm sure I left things out, and my apologies if I've said anything totally incorrect or confusing. But again, please feel free to write if anyone has other questions or clarifying questions. It's helpful because we're all here practicing together, and we have such a great body of teachings that we've heard or read or are practicing. And so in a way, it seems like a really effective use of our time together on this level of contemplation is kind of knowing what people are interested in or wondering about, things like that. So thank you. Now we'll begin our Ngondro practice. We'll just do a minute of silence, and I think we've connected with the lineage, so we'll recite the 7-line prayer, and then with that, just knowing Guru Rinpoche embodies all the Buddhas of the 3 times, and then we'll go from 7-line prayer right to our Ngondro practice itself, okay? Since we've done all of our formal lineage.